Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I know that I am late. I have been dealing with a lot of BS this morning. Um, but I'm glad that you're here. And I want to say thank you to my good friend, Rev Deep. I ain't going to say your real name on here. For reminding me to go live because I actually forgot to do it. But that's because, like I said, I've been dealing with some stuff this morning. And it kind of just took my mind away from doing this talk. But anyway, today, oh, let me put this on here. Um, uh, mm, okay, you guys, we're going to have a good discussion. I really want you to put your thinking caps on with me today because this is going to be the type of conversation where you're going to have to find yourself in this discussion. And the discussion is going to hopefully give you some kind of course of action, I want to say. I wonder why this thing will not let me post my comment. Okay, come on now. Okay. All right, so the comment is pinned. Now, listen, you guys, we're talking about a very interesting evaluation of the economic position of our people in the Black community and some of the underlying things that are going into our position as what other people might look at like inferiority. We are dealing with quite a bit when it comes to our economic empowerment and some very deeply rooted things that are going on underneath those layers. So my name is Reese Roberts. For anybody who does not know me, this podcast is called Entertain the Thought. This is where we discuss things like this, very intellectual discussions and exchanges of information that are supposed to help us position ourselves mentally so that we can see what's going on around us, not only in our external environment, but also what's happening on our internal environment. And this discussion is going to be more external than it is internal. Well, maybe I shouldn't say that before we get into the discussion because, like I said, economic empowerment for the Black community or the so-called Black community is not something that is simple. This is a discussion that is very, very layered, and I want us to kind of focus on a few of those layers. I may even extend this talk if I end up talking too long. So the first thing I want to talk about is the levels of interest, education, and diversity in the Black community. We have a serious disparity going on when it comes to the diversity of our Black businesses because of the idea that we are not necessarily educated in the fullness of our economic environment, the things that are going on around us. We are not fully equipped to jump into the pool of economic play, if you want to call it. Like, for example, you have full industries that actually govern this country and govern the society that we live in, but Black people have absolutely nothing to do with it. Those industries would be things like your utilities, things like property, things like investing, things like banks, owning banks, things like certain manufacturing companies, things that really have to do with the entire governance of society. And when you get to the higher levels of society where things are governed, then you realize that Black people have absolutely nothing to do with those institutions. We don't control them. We don't influence them. We don't direct them. We don't benefit from them. We don't have a whole lot of say in the things that go on when it comes to the way institutions govern the society that we support and the society that we've built, the society that we continue to maintain. And when I say we continue to maintain it, I mean we financially maintain this society. Black people are the engine that keeps this society running. And by that, I mean we are the financial powerhouse that continues to fund the cultures of everyone else. We are the kind of people where we have numbers, we have wealth, we have intelligence, we have pretty much every element of success that you could possibly think of. Yet we still continue to fail and seem to be in a position of inferiority or subordination because we have this lack of organization of all those resources that we are in possession of. And so, with that dynamic being very apparent to me, the main question to me is why? Why? Why do we have all of these things going for us as a people, as a nation of people, but yet we still remain on the bottom levels of the governance of society? We participate heavily in all levels, okay? We participate and we are governed heavily in all areas of this society. But we don't heavily govern ourselves or govern things around us in our environment. Why is that? Of course, you have social conditioning, you have government policy and all kinds of organizations set up for the detriment of our culture, where they're making sure that we don't economically organize, because if we economically organize, then everything else will fall after that. And so I think our people are really suffering because there is this innate desire for us to incorporate ourselves, or for us to get involved necessarily with the westernized culture. For some reason, our people are having a hard time conceptualizing what it means to be separate and free. We think there's danger attached to that. We think there is death attached to that. We think there is struggle attached to that. And for a lot of reasons, I think that we are afraid. Because of all those things, we are afraid to separate ourselves from the governing of the westernized, or the governance of the westernized institution called the U.S. This is a corporation that is governing us as if we were still a business, in which we are. For them, slavery is a business that continues. The fact that we are still working jobs and contributing into a government system, or a system of government that is specifically designed for us to be subordinate, for us to be inferior, and for us never to come up. We are seriously making ourselves fall into that category of inferior. Because when we look at the institutions that are being created for us to be inferior, and then we willingly submit ourselves to those institutions and systems, then we are willing participants in this slavery that is occurring, because we're giving all of our time, energy, and attention, and talents and skills over to these corporations that are killing us. The corporations that are governing our lives in such a way that it does not benefit, nor does it feed our communities, nor our families, nor our pockets, nor our minds, nor our spirits. And so we're being trapped in this idea that our masters are here to serve, or that's just the furthest thing from the truth. When we get a job, we feel like, oh, I need this job because this job is going to sustain my life. But in all reality, every person who participates in the corporate arena, where these businesses are set up for our detriment, the furthest thing from helping your family is what you're doing. In real life, in reality, what's actually going on is we are all individually and collectively helping the government to achieve their mission to dominate and control us. And so what happens is, because we all each individually cannot see that we individually matter in the whole scheme of things every time we clock into a job, okay? If we were to see that, okay, look, I stopped clocking into this job, and if everybody else who looks like me stops clocking in at this particular job, this job will fail. Okay, this company will fail, and their mission to dominate and control society will also fail. And something new will have to spring up in its place in order for us to fulfill the demand that was once being met with their supply. Now, this to me is simple in concept. This is a simplistic business concept of supply and demand. But we don't see the power in our numbers when it comes to that supply and demand and how it's being perpetuated in our economic system. Now, if I were to rally a whole bunch of people from, let's say, a major company, a major corporation like Walmart. Do you know Walmart is one of the most detrimental corporations to this society, along with Monsanto, things like what are the people that do Hershey, some of the media companies, media mogul companies like what is it called? The people who own Radio One, Viacom. These are some of the corporations that are leading our society straight into a hellhole and making it worse. But there are people who look like us who clock into those institutions every single day and lend their brain power, lend their money even, because you know that these companies are capping off of your tax dollars. You think that every time you go in there and you get that paycheck that you're the one that's coming out on top. No, when you go and sign into that job and you clock in, what you're actually doing is you're paying that company and you're paying the government for your participation in this system, the taxes that you pay for. Okay? Those things happen because of your participation. And I hear you, Romaine, which you're coming in with Mexicans and other minorities who will work and get these missions accomplished for cheaper or for less money. I think that goes to show a little bit of where or a lot of where I'm coming from, because let's just say that institution was to crumble because we decided that we were refusing to any longer contribute our human resources to those institutions or those corporations, and it falls. Now, if we were smart in our thinking, before we divest from the companies that currently sustain and maintain society, we would work on investing in creating replacement institutions that would go for the purpose of creating the catch-all, or if you want to say the solution to the problem. That's the best way I can put it. If we were to say, okay, look, I don't want to invest in Walmart anymore. So if we were to collectively come together and figure out how can we quickly and efficiently make Walmart obsolete, we would have to put together a network of companies and businesses that are going to sustain the need that has been fulfilled by Walmart in our personal and everyday lives. They would need to be able to provide us the products and services that are being provided by Walmart right now. And they would need to be able to sort of replace Walmart in such a way that it's actually helping us. And so that way you can easily make a switch. If you have an institution that replaces Walmart or some kind of system that is already replacing Walmart, then we might be able to make a change. Let's just say for a few years, let's say we gave ourselves a decade to turn things around. Instead of us going to grocery shop at Walmart, we could completely divest in grocery shopping at all from Walmart. Maybe we could still go in there for our concessions or not concessions, but maybe we could still go there for our household needs, still go there for whatever, but we could divest in grocery shopping at Walmart. We could completely debilitate at least one part of that company so that we could work on the other parts of making them completely obsolete. You got other grocery stores, farmers markets even. You have community gardens. You have online groceries that you can buy from other places to make Walmart obsolete. Now, as we redirect these resources economically from one corporation to another, we can basically show that we are willing and able to mobilize our numbers. We're willing and able to mobilize our power, and that we can affect institutions quickly by taking action in a unified manner. Now, I'm not going to say that we can immediately and effectively make every toxic corporation obsolete. I know that we have a lot of work to do, but we can at least get started. There are things that we can do to consume elsewhere. And you're right, Romaine, we are the biggest consumers. We have the most power to do this out of everyone. Why not pick out a black grocery store and we could, maybe invest in getting them an online production chain so that they can serve the entire Black nation online. We don't necessarily need to have a Walmart. We can get an online network that allows us to fulfill these needs without us having to feel the lack in our personal lives. But we can still, like they did with the boycott. They came up with the bus boycott back in Montgomery, Alabama. When they divested from the bus system, they did not just stop moving. They created a network that was designed to replace the bus system. So when they needed to go somewhere, they called each other. Hey, brother, I know you're not working right now. Would you mind taking me and my family up to the store so that we don't have to get on the bus to get to, buy our things? They relied on each other. They relied on other businesses. They relied on other means or modes of transportation. And so, yes, they had to deal with certain inconveniences, but they were still able to make effective change. That bus boycott went down in history, or else I wouldn't be talking about it right now. You see what I mean? We have enough talent, enough skills, enough education. Now you tell me the people right now. I know that Walmart might not be working for the interests of Black people in the whole general scheme of things, but I can guarantee you that Walmart has Black executives, Walmart has Black administrators, Walmart has Black employees, managers, Black everything going from the top to the bottom, where they could simply say, you know what, I'm not doing this for Walmart anymore. I'm going to find a Black institution. I could be the supply manufacturer. I could be the chain supply for this Black company instead of for Walmart. Yes, I'm the Black, the Black VP of this department at Walmart, but I'm going to put my brain power and my know-how, the things that I've been investing and sowing into this company, I'm going to divest myself and find a Black company where I can do that. Or I'm going to start a Black company based off the knowledge that I've been able to obtain while working here at Walmart. There are people that look just like you and I that are responsible for the success of Walmart. Now, can you tell me that those same Black people cannot be the success of our own Walmart, of a Black Walmart or a Black institution that does the same thing that Walmart does? We can do that. The same thing with car manufacturers, the same thing with tech companies, the same thing with our grocers, the people who are feeding us in our lives. We are the ones holding up society, not just financially, intellectually. I'm talking about our human resources, the sweat off of our brow. You mean to tell me that the person who started up Uber could not, the people who are running Uber who look like you and I, that we couldn't start our own Uber ride sharing company? I know for a fact that there are some Black owned ride sharing companies that y'all just don't know about and that we're not using. But see, that's what I mean by our economic disparity. Right now, we are not unified in our ideas of how we're able to move this country, about how we're able to mobilize and nationalize ourselves by simply making simple choices to divest from one place to invest in another. When you strategically divest from one place and strategically invest in another, that is how you move the blocks move the pieces on the chessboard. You're starting to make a change by actually making moves. You're no longer asking for this institution or for this company to come in on my behalf to make my society healthier for me, to make these products non-toxic, to make these advertisements less sexual, to make the media more honest or more reflective and representative of who we are as people. We can create the structures and the institutions to do those things ourselves. And this is the reason why I have a real serious problem with legislation and legislators and the voting system, because this is another system that we could easily divest from and create an alternative that is more suitable for our needs. Right now, the legal system, the justice system, the political system, it does not work in our favor. It does not do anything to give us the justice that we're looking for on the scale that we're looking for it. Now, you mean to tell me little small incremental justices that may be served after several years, like the Central Park Five? That's not a serving of justice. That's not a serving of justice. The only thing that's happened to the woman who perpetrated that injustice against those 5 young men, only thing she had to do was step down. After they have had to give up several years, over decades of their lives, over a decade of their lives have been gone. The only thing she did was step down. That's not justice. If we had our own political systems, our own systems of governance and accountability, that woman would have to pay with her own years of her own life. She would be arrested. Do you know that if we were able to nationalize and fall under the correct jurisdiction of law, which is not which is not maritime law, but it's the law of the land. Right now, we're operating under maritime law, which is not proper for people who are actually living life on land. Maritime law has to deal with the law of the waters, the law of commerce over the sea, a global commerce over the oceans, with import and export from country to country. Right now, the law of our land, which is the Northwest Amexem, that's the technical name for America, even though it's now the U.S. corporation technically. The proper law of the land is the law of the land. We're supposed to be governing off of the Constitution, not maritime law. And so we are being diluted in our effects in the ways that we're being able to even think about how we can be effective in this particular environment on our land. Geez, you guys, if we had the ability, you guys, the mental fortitude, the interest, the curiosity at all, for us to start digging into the ways in which our oppression is working against us. Okay, I have to find my words because this is extremely, it's detailed in such a way that we have to understand how the law has been structured. The law has been structured in such a way that jurisdiction is what allows these Europeans to either govern or not to govern. And right now, they are governing under the wrong jurisdiction. And we have no idea that we are putting ourselves under their jurisdiction because we're ignorant of the fact that they don't have jurisdiction to be doing what they're doing. Europeans do not have jurisdiction to create laws or legislation on land that does not belong to them. So when we go to the federal government and we apply to their, what do you call them? When we apply to their agencies, let's say you need a birth certificate, so you submit an application. They don't have the jurisdiction to collect that application from you. Issuing Social Security, collecting taxes, all kinds of things, you guys, incorporating stuff. This driver's licenses, licensing, period, marriage licenses, gun licenses, fishing licenses, all those licenses, they have nothing to do with the jurisdiction that the Europeans were entitled to under other treaties that are in effect on this landmass that we call home. These people came over here and completely tore us away from the education that would have put us under the right understanding of what is actually supposed to be going on this landmass. Okay, exactly. Somebody else said it. The Straw Man Act. You guys, oh my God. I thank you for your comments. I don't know how to say your name, but the comment said if all 30 million blacks in America donated just $1, that would be $30 million for us to build our own institutions, our own structures. And you guys, what I know about that to be true, first of all, that's extremely true, is that if we were able to, like I said, divest, stop spending money with these people, stop going into these jobs. I'm going to correct myself because I can't just say stop going into these jobs without making sure that you understand. I want you to stop going into the job after you figured out how you can help to incorporate or institutionalize the solution to your job. Okay? I used to work for the federal government. It was the Department of Treasury. Okay? This was the Department of Treasury, the Internal Revenue Service. Now, I want to give you a good, solid framework to understand what I mean by replace it before you divest from it, okay? Nationally, the Internal Revenue Service is commissioned, and their mission is to collect taxes deemed to be necessary from them. They set all the brackets and the percentages that are taken out from people. And they determine how those taxes are to be used and distributed throughout the nation. According to how they see fit. They don't justify how they use the taxes. They only bring trivial procedures forward, trivial procedures that come together to make us think that that's how they're using the tax dollars. For example, when legislators come up and they say, oh, we need more tax dollars so that we can build better roads and better parks and have better, quality enforcement or quality compliance for this or that. Half of the time, nothing improves. Most of the time, their private missions are furthered. If your taxes are going up, more than likely there is some project that the government is funding that has absolutely nothing to do with your benefit or your public welfare or your well-being at all, but rather they're trying to find a new way to keep you oppressed. They have all kinds of projects that have to deal with otherworldly missions that you won't research. And I'm not going to talk about it because I know you're not going to research it. You're probably going to look at me like I'm crazy for even talking about it before you'll look at it. But they have projects like Project Bluebeam and all these Pizzagate things and all this other stuff going on that they are funding with your money, but making you think that they're doing something for you. Now, I want to ask you if your life has ever got any better because of your taxes. Now, since you've been paying taxes or having increased taxes or whatever, all this inflation going on in this society, have you seen improvements? Have you seen things being better at all in any measure, at any rate? Have you seen things becoming better? But you are spending more money. This is inflation going on. Okay, so let me get back to my point. Making them replaceable. A solid framework for that. The Internal Revenue Service could easily be replaced if our people would start some centralized funding, some centralized account, some centralized platform where people could voluntarily donate percentages of their income, just like you would tithe. But see, this is the reason why I say we have so much economic issue, or why we have so many economic disparities. Because when you say that, the first thing people are going to do, our people, we're going to stop trusting each other. If I say I started a centralized fund where my people could donate their percentages to the welfare of our nation of people, separate from the federal government, if I told you that you could stop paying the Internal Revenue Service and start paying our institution instead, you would be scared. You would be fearful because you don't know that the IRS does not have jurisdiction to take your money in the first place. I got just as much jurisdiction to collect taxes from you, just as the IRS does. But because you fear what the IRS will do to retaliate against you, you won't consider that. If I told you that you could, instead of tithing to your church, who again is not doing anything to better your community, has not done anything to further your mission to live a better life, besides telling you lies every Sunday or telling you things that you already know every Sunday. I'm not getting ready to go back and forth with y'all about it. You won't stop tithing to them so that you can give to a Black institution that's set up for the mission of unifying the Black community, for serving the needs of the Black community. If I told you that the needs of the Black community is different than the needs of this total country at large, this country is a melting pot of cultural communities that don't have nothing to do with the Black community. The needs of them has nothing to do with the needs of us. And so when you are submitting your Black dollars through this institutionalized, westernized, Europeanized cultural organization called the U.S., your money is going to the betterment of all those other cultures that you're giving your money to. The churches that you're spending your tithe money to, that money goes into a centralized bank account, and it goes over the seas, over the water, to the British Empire. It goes over there to the Queen Elizabeth, whatever her name is. And so when you think that you're giving your money to these institutions for the betterment of yourself or your community or your society, your neighborhood, your environment, the globe, come on now, you're not making any progress at all. And when you go up there and you vote to make it better, really what you're doing is causing those people to laugh in your face. They're going to have their hands out, and they're going to willingly receive your money. They're going to willingly watch you go in there and vote for things that they know they have absolutely no intention to change, no intention to help, no intention to make any progress based off of your black dollar. And when your black dollar is gone, it goes into their communities, into their projects, into completing their missions, into seeing their children go to college, into seeing their, cars, the brand new cars in their driveways. You're not helping at all. So why not, if I tell you, stop paying the tithe to the church, stop paying the IRS. Let them catch up to you. I used to work for the IRS in compliance, and I know for a fact there are people that I've seen go years and years and years and years with balances that exceed hundreds of thousands of dollars. And the only thing they do is call up the IRS and they say, you know what? I'm out of work. I don't have the money right now. Y'all put me on a payment plan. I'll pay you $25 a month on these hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt. And if you can justify that you don't have the money, the IRS ain't messing with you. They're going to put your account in a collection status with a few keystrokes. And you will be basically in a status where you're idle with the IRS and you're only paying them a small portion of your money so that you can rectify these debts. They also have something in place where you can adjust the amount that's taken out of your check every week, 2 weeks, every month, or whatever. You can stop the money from coming out of your check by changing the amount of your withholdings, and you can redirect that money whenever it comes to you in the form of your paycheck. However frequently you get it, you can redirect that money to another institution. You can redirect, and by the time the IRS done caught up to what the world is happening, we done already created our own institution. We've already replaced them, and our streets are now being paved with the money that we've been able to invest in our own construction companies. Okay, we've been able to reconstruct our own. We don't need you to come and clean up our neighborhoods because now we have a centralized fund that's necessary for our communities to be cleaned up. I don't need you to come in the hood or the projects anymore and put grass on the front lawn because now my IRS is responsible for that. I got it. I don't need you to come to my community to lift me up or to better us in any way. We've taken care of it. Thank you very much. I need y'all to understand the power behind freedom of thinking, freedom of thought, okay? It doesn't take much for somebody to incorporate a business. The IRS is an incorporated business. I have an incorporated business right now. And if I so chose to organize my business and the mission of my corporation to where I wanted to become competition for the IRS, I could do that. The same way Target is competition for Walmart, I could be competition for the Internal Revenue Service if I so chose to incorporate my business the same way the IRS incorporated their business. Instead of their policies and procedures, their applicant process, I could do the same thing. We could go even further. Let's say the Department of Agriculture. What are they charged with doing in the communities of this country? They're charged for telling, farmers and food manufacturers and food producers how to produce a certain level of quality and health in our food. Now, let me just ask you, do you think that that's being done? Do you think you're eating quality food right now? Do you think the Department of Agriculture is it for the best interest of your health, considering the food industry and all of its woes? You tell me, what are we paying for? Huh? If the Department of Agriculture and let's just say, I'm gonna keep it Department of Agriculture. If they are set up for the purpose of making sure that our food is safe and healthy for us to eat, what do you think they're doing? Because I know and you know that our food is the furthest thing from healthy. If they were doing their jobs, why are we dealing with GMOs? If they were doing their job, why are we dealing with toxic food coloring? If they were doing their jobs, why are we dealing with synthetic materials in our foods? Why are we dealing with plastic in our foods? Why are we dealing with, all of these high levels of sugars and all these, substitute materials in our foods, artificial flavorings and all this other stuff? If the Department of Agriculture or whoever is responsible for making sure that, or the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, Not the Department of Agriculture. I think that the FDA might be under the Department of Agriculture. But again, if they were doing their jobs, and if these missions were actually real, and they're saying, oh yeah, our mission is to keep your food safe, to keep your food and drugs safe. Do you think that the drugs that we take are safe? Somebody holler if you hear me. Somebody holler if you hear me. What are we paying for? And why do we feel like voting is the solution to these things? If voting was the solution to these problems, they would have been solved by now. We've been voting on the same goddamn things since my mama was a baby. I got my own child now, and we still voting the same things. Something is wrong. And it makes me upset. Something is wrong with the way we're looking at these things. The Food and Drug Administration does not complete its mission of keeping our food and drugs safe. If that were the case, all of us would be out here souped up on some kind of holistic remedy for cancer that the food is giving us. If that was the case, the food wouldn't be giving us cancer. We have to understand that there is a patterned behavior that we must look to for answers. There is a patterned behavior that we are completely ignoring as a nation of people. These people are building these institutions and enslaving us off of our own backs. I'm not getting ready to keep on being quiet about it. And I'm not getting ready to keep on letting people tell me, oh, that's too far-fetched. That's too far-fetched. No, the hell it's not. It's not too far-fetched. Because if they can start a business and then call it the government, Black people are some of the best business people you'll ever run across in your life. We created this. We created it. You're not going to tell me that they could do business better than we can. You're not going to tell me that they can serve this country better than we can. You're not going to tell me that they can incorporate and organize better than we can. I know that we have it in us. I'm going to tell you what it is. We don't trust. And now we're dealing with even more deeply rooted issues because it's a lack of belief that's happening in our community. We don't believe that we can compete with our oppressor. We don't believe that we can achieve things without them becoming a physical threat to us. We don't believe that we can make silent moves to where I simply just don't need your business anymore. You know what I'm saying? Okay, I'm going to give you a good simple example of the way I'm talking about. We can make these moves quick, y'all, in a matter of years. It doesn't have to be a next lifetime. It could be this one. I can live to see freedom for my son. I don't have to wait for no freedom bells to ring. I'm going to tell you simply how this can work. Like I said, if they could do business, so can we. I'm going to give you a good idea of what I mean. Toys R Us, y'all. Toys R Us. You know what happened to Toys R Us. Toys R Us was one of the leaders in providing toys for children. Okay? Somebody decided that they wanted to start selling toys online. Come on, Amazon. Amazon comes out and they start selling products online, these toys, okay? They get into the toy business and now people simply don't need Toys R Us anymore because Amazon got it covered. Amazon got it covered. So now Toys R Us is not dropping bombs on anybody or saying, oh my God, you guys don't want to shop here anymore? No toys will ever exist and ever in the existence of toy creation. We're gonna shut the whole operation down. No, they bowed out. They went out of business. They simply went out of business. That was it. Now, if I told you that the federal government, not only are they going through that right now, they're going out of business, but they could also be pushed further into that debt of going out of business. They could be further pushed or quickly pushed into going out of business if we were to serve as our own Amazon, where we create businesses that are sustainable enough to replace the businesses that are keeping us in a position of oppression and inferiority and subordination. If we were able to get ourselves to a point where we could brand our own nation. Do y'all see my vision? I'm trying to tell you, it's clear as day in my mind. It's clear as day in my mind. Be your own Amazon. You don't need to have some economic powerhouse or some overly institutionalized company coming to you and providing all the needs that you have for living your life. First of all, I know that we're suffering from a lack of diversity, like I said earlier in this discussion, where we have all these industries that are serving to keep us oppressed. But y'all, it's just a matter of us learning what resources we have and what resources we need. If we could figure out what kind of governing potential we have, like I want to say, for example, let's just say I know that I need to create an Amazon, okay? And I don't necessarily have all of the resources for me to do so. What if I was to poll somehow my community and say, okay, then listen, I have some of the staff that I'm going to need in order for me to launch this Black Amazon, so to speak. I'm going to call it the Black Amazon just for the purpose of my example. I need some more staff members. I need some more qualified individuals to head this project where we are creating a new Amazon. I'm going to solicit for some people who are well qualified in the Black community. They have a resume that shows that they have been able to run corporations. They've been able to run institutions. They have Fortune 500 experience, or they have Fortune 500 education. And we're going to say, all right, listen, because we've got some investors interested in our Black Amazon, and these investors are for the purpose of displacing some of the institutions that are keeping our community under oppression. What I would like for you to do as the CEO of this company is to take this investment into your career. We want you to come and work for us. We want you to show us what it is you're doing for them and come and do it for us. We have an institution that is just starting and it has a lot of groundwork that needs to be done, blah, blah, blah. But we are creating alternatives to what's happening on the side of Amazon. Now, you interchange Amazon with the federal government. How many government officials, how many people who work for government agencies? The government is one of the top employers of Black people. The government employs us in huge numbers. Like I said, we run this country. We're just not getting paid for it. We run this country. We sustain this country. We're just not benefiting from it. And the reason why is because we're not institutionalized. We have no institution to catch the money that we're circulating. They have all the institutions that are designed to catch the money. All we are set up to do is to circulate the money. We don't have institutions to catch it and to keep it and hold on to it and to progress it, to direct it and do something with it so that we have a purpose, a mission, an intention for the money. All we want to do is spend, spend, spend. I want to show you something. This is my business card. It says on here, consumption costs. I wonder if you can see that. This is a brain behind here. It says consumption costs. I want to show you that too here on Facebook. It says consumption costs. And I have a brain on here with my business card because what we consume in our brains is costing us money. We are consuming these ideas that are costing us money. Okay? It's costing us money. We don't have anything set up because we can't think to be competitors. We can only think to be consumers, and it's costing us. We can only think to be consumers. If I went to every government employee right now and say, listen, I'm getting ready to start a Black government. Can you process them government applications over here like you processing them government applications over there? Can you answer the phones in our government like you answering the phones over there? Can you be the department head in my government like you the department head in that government institution? Can you be the compliance officer in my government institution like you're the compliance officer in their institution? Y'all, it's not rocket science. We're not reinventing the wheel. Don't forget that we taught these people how to do political systems. We taught these people how to govern. We taught them the science of politics. We taught them the science of society. We taught them. You can't tell me they can do it better than we can. If we had a centralized funding system that was allowing us to direct our funds, to catch our money and to say, nah, we don't need to spend our tax dollars like this. We need this centralized fund to spend money on our education systems, on a homeschooling network system, so I don't have to put my children into this institutionalized system of education with these people that don't know a goddamn thing about education. I taught you how to educate yourself. I taught you what it meant to be enlightened. I taught you what it meant to be a philosopher. I taught you what it meant to have theories and produce these kinds of Renaissance eras in your community. You're not going to tell me you could do it better than I can. Y'all hearing me? See my vision here. Because it's going to take more than just me seeing this. It's going to take more than me putting these vibrations out there into the universe. I need your help. I need you to quit that goddamn job. I need you to help me institutionalize. I need you to get on board. I need you to fucking believe in something. I need you to believe that we can do this. I need you to believe that you don't need to submit an application to your enemy for you to be married. I need you to believe that if you say with your mouth and believe in your heart that you love this person and y'all are in a union together, who needs to issue you a license for that? Who do you need to pay in order for you to be in a relationship? You got to pay for a license to be married. What? You mean to tell me I got to pay somebody for my husband to lay in my bed every night and come home to me every night and get me pregnant and spend his bills to keep these lights on? What? Blasphemy. 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 I want us to start thinking like we're free. You're not going to tell me that I need a license from you to get a pole and stick it in the water and to catch a fish out of there. Blasphemy. This is not your water. This is not your land. This is not your government. This is not your jurisdiction. This is not where you belong. And this is what I need you to know. Exactly. Come on, Romaine, your birth certificate. I don't have to tell you that I'm having a child and then you issue me a certificate that my child was born and then you start trading my child's energy on the stock market as if my child was a commodity, a chattel stock market. Come on now. Chattel on the stock market. We have to start thinking better about these things, y'all. We have to start thinking more realistically about what we're doing on a daily basis and how we are justifying these moves that we're making. The political system is not, they don't have any jurisdiction and they're not more capable or equipped at doing what they're doing than we are. First of all, because every claim being made by the political system and those policy makers or those policemen, policy keepers, they are not being fulfilled. And so that should already let us know that this is a faulty system that we are feeding our money and energy and time and skills and talents into. These things are not supposed to throw us for such a loop, in my opinion. I feel like we should be able to look at this and we should be able to see what's being perpetrated against us. We're being kept down because we are willing to be kept down. We're willing to ask before we're willing or capable of telling somebody. I'm not asking you for my power. I'm telling you that I have power. There's a big difference. I'm not asking you for my power to move. I'm telling you that I'm moving. I don't need your toys anymore. Toys R Us. I'm moving over to Amazon. They're doing better. Thank you very much. I don't need your incorporated government, the United States, because these black people over here got a better government and I'm going to go ahead and invest in them. Could you guys imagine if we were to take ownership of our land by law, our land inheritance, okay? If we were to come under the correct jurisdiction of law, the natural law of the land, okay, as indigenous Moorish Americans, if we were to come under the proper jurisdiction of law, we would not have to ask anyone for any goddamn thing. We would not have to ask for a thing. We would have to only thing we would need to do is to unify amongst ourselves and discuss amongst ourselves, what are we going to do with this new centralized institution that has now become competition for our oppressor? Now, what I know about our people is that we have a need to be governed. There are plenty of people out here who need the government because they need their mind to be governed. And if you know the etymology of the word government, it means control of the mind. To govern the mind, government. And when you govern the mind of the people, they tend to relax. They feel safe. They feel taken care of. They feel happy. Okay, when people are being controlled, when their mind is being told what to think, they don't feel the burdens of having to think for themselves. And so what I'm telling you is that I want you to imagine if we were able to provide these governing services for our own people. Because I'm going to tell you, lazy-minded people are not going anywhere. People need to have and they want to have their minds controlled. And it sounds sinister. But when I tell you that is the way the government that we're under right now, that's the way they've been able to keep themselves in a position of power. It's because they've been able to give the appearance that they're making things easier for us in our lives, because they're able to say, my mission is to keep your food and drugs safe. You don't have to think about this at all. We're going to put a stamp on it, and it's going to let you know already, because we're going to tell you that this is my procedure for keeping your food safe. This is my policy. This is how I do things. And, we have these 14-point system that we check for all these toxins. And while they got all these policies being published, all of these different things going on to make you think that they're doing these things for your benefit, then the whole time they're killing you behind your back. Why? Because they're the creators of this system. They know how to create policies and also create the loophole for the policies so that they can exploit their own policies and their own loopholes for your detriment. What do you think lobbyists do on the political floor, in the political arena? Lobbyists are there specifically to undermine the mission of government institutions and agencies. They're there to undermine the purpose and the mission of what these institutions and these agencies are being set up for in the first place. For example, the Food and Drug Administration. If I say, okay, now listen, FDA, I know that y'all are here to make sure that the food and drugs are safe, but I got this new product, okay, and I need you to create some kind of lane for me to be in so that I can sell this stuff. It's toxic as hell. It's not safe at all, but I need you to help me sell it. I'm going to kick you some kickback, some money, so that you can create some kind of policy, some kind of loophole. You can create some kind of legislation on the back door that ain't nobody ever going to see, because I don't want you to publicize it. It might be on CNN, but how many people going to sit there through the whole House of Representatives and they speeches and I hereby affirm this into law? Who is going to sit there on C-SPAN and watch all that? Not me, not your black ass. Nope. So they already know. All I got to do is just kick you some money, and whatever policies you had created, they don't exist no more after I done paid you for it. So you're going to stick your same FDA stamp on there, and you're going to say this is safe. And because we need to be controlled in our minds, because we need to have those safety nets in place for somebody to tell us what is safe and what is not, then we are not able to any longer put that energy into finding out what is safe for ourselves on our own, because that stamp is on there and it says FDA approved. FDA approved. I'm going to go ahead and put it in my mouth. I'm going to go ahead and feed that to my child. I'm going to go ahead and put that in my body. I'm going to go ahead and trust that it's going to heal my ailments and all that stuff, because somebody that I know to be my enemy and my oppressor put a stamp on it and said it's okay for me. Y'all, come on. I can't stand for it, okay? I can't stand for it. Something is wrong. Something is wrong when we are looking at the federal government to be the solutions to our problems, when the federal government is our damn problem. How are we justifying these dynamics? How are we justifying this relationship? How are we justifying the toxicity of this damn relationship? Somebody is taking too much and not giving enough. And somebody need to be cut the hell off. We are in the season of cutting people off. and releasing things that are no longer serving us. Well, I'm here to tell you that the federal government has been no longer serving us for a long ass time. They should have been cut off a long time ago. Now, I'm sick of all of these goddamn times where we got people like Malcolm X, people like Khalid Muhammad, or the people like, all my brothers, these soldiers. You got people like Shahrazad Ali. I could go on for days and nights about the people who are coming. It's even musicians out there that are telling us that this government is not where it's at. What exactly, Romaine? What do we expect from these people? They are literally the source of all of our collective problems. And we are collectively going to them for the solutions. Come on. This ain't, it's something. It ain't right. My brother, I'm ready for us to talk. I know you said we need to talk. Let's go ahead and talk. I'm gonna make sure that we get connected, because this to me is starting to become annoying, because I've had these visions for a minute. And you guys, what I know is that what this boils down to, and I'm going to just go ahead and give y'all the gold, just because y'all are on here with me and you watching. What this boils down to, you guys, is branding. Just like Target is able to brand their company to position it as competition for Walmart, we need proper branding for people to entrust us with their public safety and all these other types of governing services that the U.S. has been able to perpetrate against us. If we were able to brand ourselves as a government services provider, in some kind of way institutionalize that service provider, or that mission of being a government service provider, then we would be able to institutionalize, brand ourselves as competition, and we would be able to open our doors for people to start funding our missions. The same way they have their doors open for us to give them our tax dollars. They have no more right to set up a government than we do. And if we were to go through the proper legal channels to have that done, they would have to sit down and shut up, just like Toys R Us had to do. Because if my government is better as a business, okay, than yours is, this is commerce, baby. This is import, export. This is trade. This is supply and demand. This is the game that you're playing with us. And so when I figure out that this is your game and I start playing it with your ass, don't get mad. Oh no. Oh no, don't get mad. Don't start trying to bomb nobody, because you can't bomb a institution that exists in the cloud. Who you going to start bombing? You're going to start coming to people's houses individually and you're going to start bombing our computers? What are you going to do? If our government exists in the cloud, where our institution is online and is based in a cloud that you can't touch, what are you going to do? Are you going to come? What are you going to do? You're going to start coming into every black community and start trying to figure out who is building this government? Who is being your competition? What are you going to do? There's nothing you can do to stop your competition. The same way you can't stop me from starting my business. You can't stop me from starting a business and getting my damn EIN number and incorporating myself and saying, okay, now I'm open for business. You can't stop that. You cannot stop that. The only thing you can do is to make me think that I cannot compete with you. That's the only thing you can do, is make me think that you're going to kill me if I compete with you. That's the only thing you can do. You can come in my mind and you can make me think. But what if I'm too strong? What if my mind is too strong and you cannot make me think a certain way? What if everything you tell me, I got to answer for that ass? What if everything you come and tell me that I can't do, I show you that I can? Not asking you for no permission no more. Not asking you for no permission no more. Because when like my brother Tupac said, we've been lightly knocking. There's been a light knock on the door. Hello. Somebody gonna let me in? But after a while, you keep refusing me access. This is getting ready to get a little more interesting. I'm not asking you for too much longer. And it don't have to be violent. We don't have to bust down your doors. We don't have to kick in your doors. Even though I wish that some of these brothers in the hood, instead of kicking in the doors of your black neighbor, why don't you go into the hills? Go into the neighborhoods where they got, white people are so boastful and they like to brandish their superiority complexes. You go into a white neighborhood, they don't even close their windows. They don't even close their windows because they know that black people don't have enough balls to come into their neighborhoods and do to them what we do to ourselves in our own neighborhoods. Because we fear them. You mean to tell me all the brothers in the hood, all that anger you got inside of you, my brother, and you're going to go to your next door neighbor and take something from somebody who don't have as much as you don't have? But instead, you won't get in your car and drive up the road and go to their house, throw a rock through the goddamn window, and go in there and loot all of their expensive stuff. Why don't you take some of their Fabergé eggs? Why don't you go through their damn jewelry box and figure out what they got up in there? Why are you going to your own communities and doing that? Why? Because you fear them. You fear what they're going to do to you. You have fear. You're scared. And while you steadily boasting around the hood like you got all of this, hardness, thugness, while you the realest that ever lived, you're not real. Because if you was real, you would know who your true enemy was. You would know the reasons why you walking around in a state of unknowing, in a state of depression and not knowing anything about what to do with it because of your oppressor. Huh? And you want to tell me that you the biggest man on the block? No, you're not. You're a peon. You're a pawn. Because you're not even fighting the real war. You're not even fighting your real enemy. You're fighting against your brothers. You're fighting against your soldiers. You're fighting against your help. You're fighting against yourself. You understand? Come on now. We can't keep doing this and